I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Kevin Tumlinson. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful night?
I'm excellent, man. How are you?
I am excellent. Thanks for asking. Thank you for asking. What parts of the world are you in right now?
Right now, I'm in just outside of Houston, Texas.
Oh,
This is where I spend a little bit of my time. I travel quite a bit, but I'm home right now.
This is good. You sound comfortable. Well, I must say on the recorded version of this conversation that your voice is amazing.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I grew it myself.
Yeah, you did say that. Yeah, he grew it himself. So please do tell me, Kevin, which of your talents is responsible for us meeting?
I believe you reached out because of the podcast, actually.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Yeah, podcaster.
Circle
family.
around. Yeah, my Wordslinger Podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about the podcast, please.
It started much like you. I love stories, and I started the podcast back in 2013 as a chance to talk to people I admired, talk to entrepreneurs, talk to authors, and just kind of get their behind-the-scenes story. So, the tagline of the show is "It's all about the story here," and that's always been at the heart of it. So, I folded it in with the rest of my career. I've got a pretty good writing career going. I'm a thriller author. I do some marketing for Draft Digital, as you and I chatted about briefly before the show, and Wordslinger Podcast kind of folds into all that. So.
Yeah. So I got the opportunity to listen to what I found out as you spoke. Was it one of your first your solo conversations where you started and just got on there and spoke? You said one of your friends suggested you do that, right? On the podcast.
Yeah, and typically it's an interview format show, but I occasionally because I was traveling, I was for the past month I've been at various conferences all over the place, and this was an opportunity to get an episode recorded. I didn't have the time to sit down and produce an episode the way I normally would, and someone that I had connected with at the conference recommended just doing a solo episode. And I've done a couple of those over the years, but it was nice to do that. Just kind of fill everybody in on where I was and what I was doing.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, you were great. I'm guessing karaoke the night was pretty good as well, right?
Karaoke was, it was pretty amazing. I'm a big fan of karaoke for some reason. I don't know why. I'm a ham, I guess. I like to perform, and being able to get on stage in front of a whole bunch of strangers and just kind of belt one out. I'm an R&B guy, so I was doing a lot of Marvin Gaye and. I guess Marvin Gaye is probably more Motown, I think, but
it definitely suits the voice.
Yeah.
So who did you learn the skill of? I would like to say being socially inclined.
It's interesting because I actually am an introvert, and people do not believe that. But I like the way you described it because I think that's what it is. I think it's a skill. I just knew that in order to move forward in my career, I had to be a little more social and I had to be a little more out there. And I started paying attention to how other people did it and what was working. And just like all good skills, I started imitating what I was seeing. And I gained some confidence by speaking in public more, by doing, I worked in radio and television, so I knew the mechanics of the whole thing. I knew the technical side of the whole thing. And I had been on air nervously a few times in the past. But it just, it was one of those things where you practice for a while and you become comfortable with it and you get better at it. I think that's exactly what happened for me. And it was, it changed my life, actually. The whole podcasting thing has been a very, very big part of my career and growth, both my career and personal growth. So I was glad to get into it.
Yeah. I mean, look at what has happened. Now you're speaking to a guy all the way in Trinidad, right? Just off of the podcast. It's really fascinating.
You're like the third person in Trinidad I've ever spoken to.
Wow. So. Yeah, I thought I may have been the first, but there we go.
So close.
Which is cool. Well, do tell us one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please.
Over the last 3 years, well, I've been publishing. I started publishing my own work more than 3 years ago, but consistently over the past 3 years, I've really been blowing up with that. So I'm currently a thriller author. I'm an award-winning and best-selling thriller author.
Congratulations!
Actually.
Wow.
Thank you. I was pretty proud to hit those marks. And I'd been writing science fiction for a long time. I switched to thrillers. Really just switched to thrillers about almost 2 years ago now. But started treating writing and publishing as a business back in really late 2013, early 2014. And that's been one of those fateful decisions that really changed my life. Because of that, I am where I am now. I'd been a copywriter my whole career, essentially. And so writing's always been a part of my work. But when I got into publishing and I connected with Draft to Digital a little over a year ago, just reached out. I had been talking about them on my show and on other podcasts where I'd been interviewed, and they were great. And unbeknownst to me, they'd been listening. And when I reached out and said, "Hey, I'd be willing to do a little marketing for you guys if you'd connect me to people in the industry," and they said, "We heard what you said. We've been listening to you, and how would you like to come on board and just represent us out in the world?" And that's what happened. So it's been interesting. The consistent part of my career has always been the writing.
Yeah.
Podcasting has become a huge part of my career over the past 3 or 4 years. And Draft to Digital it's been wild just representing these guys out in the public. They're a beloved company. Yeah. So I get to be the face of a company that everybody loves. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. How does it make you feel? I
get excited about the whole thing, man. It's different. I've had jobs in the past. I've worked for other people. Most of my career I've spent working for myself, freelancing, and I owned a production business for a while, that sort of thing. But if I had to work for any company on the planet, this is the one I would choose, honestly. And I'm not just saying that because they might potentially be listening. I'm mostly saying because it's true. They're just. I'm a part of a community, this indie author community. Draft to Digital, they serve that community. I mean, they are, part of the heart and soul of the whole thing. So it's, being a part of this has meant, personal growth. It's meant actually being able to help a lot of other people that are just like I was a few years ago, who are maybe just trying to figure out, the publishing game, figure out what their role is in that game. It's just incredible to be able to help people at that level. And in combination with the Wordslinger Podcast, I just feel like I was recently called the voice of indie publishing because I do appear on every podcast. If there's a podcast that has anything to do with writing, I've probably been on it. And, that's an honor to be called that. It's an honor to take on that name and represent the community in that way. So all the things I've been doing all led into that.
Love it. Well, amazing audience. We are live with Kevin Tumlinson. Do check him out, right? The Wordslinger Podcast. Love the tagline. It's all about the story here. Kevin, let's switch gears for a moment. And now let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. What is your earliest childhood memory?
My earliest childhood memory is actually sitting on and playing on a toy plastic motorcycle.
How old do you think you were?
That's probably guessing by the environment that I'm in. I was probably maybe 3 years old, 4 years old. Wow. Old enough that my kid brother was alive, so we're 2 years apart. So I had to at least been 4 years old, I think. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, that's my earliest one.
So you're there on this plastic motorcycle. Why do you think this memory is so clear?
That's an interesting question, and I don't have a ready answer for that, other than I think that toy stuck around for a few years afterwards, I guess. Yeah, I really don't know why that stuck around. There was nothing significant about that moment that I can recall. It was just, I was in the hallway of my grandparents' home, and I knew my little brother was in the living room playing with his own toys, and I had this toy motorcycle that I could sit on, and it had a little handle that made sort of a revving noise,
Yeah.
I guess it just resonated with me.
Yeah. What can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Do it.
Life is a ride.
All right. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Love the imagination that you've had.
Embrace the ride and
Embrace
go. Let the wind run through your hair.
Yeah, there we go.
If you happen to have hair.
Yeah. If not, you could always buy some. It's cool.
That's right.
Yeah. If we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
When I was 12 years old, I was very much into like 50s and 60s music. So I would say my favorite song was probably something like, oh gosh, this is a tough one because I don't quite remember. I know the genre,
right?
I know the style of music I was listening to. Might have been Johnny B. Good.
Yeah.
That might have been it.
Yeah. Well,
nice guitar.
Yeah. Definitely the motorcycle type of. I was saying, it's nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, we got a theme. We got a little bit of a theme.
Yeah, there we go. You could. you could write that story on your iPod. Sorry, your iPhone while we're talking, right? Yeah, while we're in
You really have been listening.
You
checked it out.
It was definitely a great podcast. Well, my friend, we have arrived at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no. We're going to go pretty quickly here. Kevin, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
I've chosen many someones to pass my skills on to. That's what I do, is pass my skills on to people.
Are you married?
I am married, yes.
Do you have children?
No.
Do you believe in God?
I do.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
I absolutely do.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
I do not.
How about 3 hours a week?
Sure.
What about screen time? The phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Oh, far more than 8.
Kevin, after having 1,001 conversations in 3 months in 2016, I came up with a workbook, and the name of it is Yours. It's called Yours. It stands for your own unique real self. Connected to that is your own unique real statement, your mission. If you had to share with us your own unique real statement, something that represents Kevin Tumlinson, what would you say that is?
I actually have a mission statement. My mission is to craft stories that inform and inspire, educate, and entertain.
Love it. Woo! Well, Kevin, this has been a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
I think we covered practically everything. And, if people want to reach out to me and chat with me, I'm always open to it. You can hop over to kevintumlinson.com and find me. I'd be happy to chat with you.
Love it. Kevin Tumlinson, hey, thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.